Next up at UFC Mexico, we have the featured fight of the evening. We have Kelvin Gastelum taking on Joe Pyfer. I'm going to keep this nice and simple. Kelvin Gastelum, 19-9 in his career, 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off that decision win over Daniel Rodriguez, taking on Joe Pyfer, 13-3 in his career, 4-1 in his last 5. He's coming off that knockout win over Marc-Andre Barrot. And the reason this is an interesting fight is because obviously Joe Pyfer is a good time 3-1 favorite here. And I get it. We just watched Joe Pyfer one-punch knock out Marc-Andre Barrot. We know Joe Pyfer can wrestle. We've seen him use that offensive wrestling before. We know he's teammates and best friends with Sean Brady. So let's assume he's got very good BJJ as well. So we have a Joe Pyfer who's got good hands, powerful one-punch knockouts. We know he's a guy who broke his arm and just continued to fight and not a quitter. We know he's a guy that can wrestle. He can grapple. He can do all those things. The problem is, this is at elevation. And if Joe comes in here expecting to one-punch knockout the fire hydrant head that is Kelvin Gastelum, he's going to be in for it because Kelvin Gastelum, as we all know by now, has been on the UFC roster for about 12 years at this point, if not longer. He has a head built out of a fire hydrant. You cannot knock him out. Baseball bat, 2x4, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. But he is a Division I wrestler who, if he decides to wrestle, can have some success. We saw some of that wrestling in his last fight. He's a guy that has some power in his hands. If he wants to come forward and bomb away, he could have success there too. He's a guy that's insanely durable, that can be in a dogfight. He doesn't have any quit in him whatsoever. He did get manhandled by Sean Brady a little while ago at 170, but that's a sucked-out Kelvin Gastelum, and now we know how good Sean Brady is. A 185 dad bod Kelvin Gastelum, who's just going to stand there, not live up to the expectations, not do what he's supposed to do, but kind of slug it out and be durable, could have upset potential. I'm going to pick Joe Pyfer here because by all scientific purposes, Joe Pyfer should win. Good striker, good grappler, hits hard, young, fast. He should win. He should win. If Joe Pyfer loses here, then he should retire from the UFC and head over to the PFL because clearly he was not prepared. If Joe thinks he's going to one-punch knock out Kelvin Gastelum, he is very confused. But if he is prepared for a full 15 minutes, I'll get after it. I'm in phenomenal shape. I'll light him up. I can do all the things. Then he will win. He should win. And most of that is based off the fact that Kelvin does not fight to his full potential. Same breakdown most people had for Kevin Holland. Same breakdown most people have for Lupe Cadinez. Joe Pyfer is going to be the pick, but Kelvin could absolutely win this fight. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I'm picking Kelvin just for the simple reason I don't really like Joe Pyfer. So I'm picking Kelvin. I think he wins.
Didn't Joe Pyfer like shit on you in his Instagram story or something like that?
He tried to act like he was the man all the time before his fights, and he lost one time, and he was like, "Oh, there's so many haters."
He did get the Turkish touch-up. Do you think that helps with the confidence and then therefore helps in the fight itself?
I don't really give a fuck about Joe Pyfer. I'm rooting for Kelvin.
I think we're all rooting for Kelvin. I'm with you there. I will be rooting for Kelvin as well. And mine isn't quite a slight on the Joe side. I just really like Kelvin Gastelum. I've been watching the sport for a long time. Dude's been in some all-time wars, laid it out for us as fans. I'm a big Kelvin Gastelum fan. Any more words on this fight, Jacob?
Nope.
Okay, $6,900 in DraftKings Fantasy for Kelvin Gastelum. Listen, if you think he can pull it off, then that makes a lot of sense. I do not think Joe's going to be worth the $9,300 because I don't think he's going to finish Kelvin. The only way I think he can really score some points and finish this fight and make something happen is if he goes against his normal fight style. If he is listening to his teammate Sean Brady, who is like, dude, don't just take his ass down. Then maybe. But Joe knows he has big one-punch knockout power, might chase that. I don't necessarily know he's going to get that done. If you do want to check out all the picks, the bets, the tools, what the artificial intelligence has to say about this fight, go to WeWantPicks.com. It's freaking $10. Unlock everything you'd ever want or need heading into this fight weekend, as well as an entire month's worth. You're going to get all the way out to UFC 314.